This is the Microsoft Cloud Show, episode 96, where CJ and AC shoot the shit in a German bar about the cloud. Recorded live September 21st, 2015. Welcome to the Microsoft Cloud Show, the only place to stay up to date on everything going on in the Microsoft Cloud world, including Windows Azure, Office 365, SharePoint, Exchange, Lync, and related technologies. Just the information, no marketing, no BS. I'm Andrew Connell.
And I'm Chris Johnson.
And we're just two dudes telling you how we see it. Hey man, how's it going?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Doing good. Man, we just sat here and listened to the intro to the last show.
Cracking up. Brilliant.
Oh my God, that sounded so good.
So funny.
All right, so we're literally here to shoot the about the cloud in a German bar.
Yep,
in Seattle.
We've banged a couple of wieners.
Man, it was good though. Oh, I can't believe you went there. Man,
sorry, man.
The live shows, was this maybe like the fourth of the fifth show we've been able to do like live, like sitting at the same table. Of all the podcasts, we're on episode 96, and this is one of the first time, of course, like the fourth or the fifth time you're talking about us banging a few wieners back, but I mean, it's okay.
Yeah. No.
It's been a few beers, so we're probably justified.
If we are a couple of beers down, to be fair.
You definitely don't work for Microsoft anymore, do you?
That's right. I'm totally off rails now, man.
Oh.
So what are we going to talk about? Let's get to some real meat and potatoes of the show, as opposed to the meat and potatoes of dinner.
I had the potatoes earlier, but I'm not going to talk about the other part of the dinner now.
So we've got some news, right?
We do have some news. Yes,
actually, why are you here? Like, what are you doing?
I'm here. I'm in Seattle. I'm in your neck of the woods.
Yes.
I'm here in downtown Seattle. We are literally here at a German bar having a few beers. They're actually locking us in right now. I just noticed that.
Easy.
There's more people here. It's okay.
Yeah.
The beer is still cold. I'm here teaching a class, and now we're just hanging out, having a few beers.
We're watching some football.
Yep.
Talking shop.
Although this is really weird. The Monday Night Football is over. It's not even 9 o'clock here at night, and Monday Night Football is over. By now, I've already popped out the contacts, and I've already got the jammies on, and I'm ready to go to bed, man. I'm on East Coast time.
Yeah, the late game on here is, 5 o'clock.
It's brutal, but so we're going to sit there and we just thought we'd talk a little bit here about some cloud news. There's been some pretty good stuff that we've seen the last week or so. We missed last week. You and I, we had a bit of a challenge on the scheduling thing. We couldn't get together and get everything working, but we didn't want to miss 2 weeks. But man,
I was on solo parent duty last week, and
you survived.
Well, solo parent duty.
The kids survived. Did they survive?
They did survive. I was on solo parent duty at the same time as a full-time job, and for all of you out there who look after kids and hold down a full-time job, I don't know how you do it. I was a disaster.
No.
Yeah.
It's definitely quite a bit of work. But so we're getting closer to episode 100. This is the closer we get to it, the bigger it's like, holy crap, we've actually been doing 100 episodes in 2 years.
It's amazing, yeah. It's kind of bizarre. Like, it's going to be cool to get to. It's going to be a good milestone.
It's actually surprising to me that we actually lasted this long. Yeah. I didn't think we'd be doing it this long. I thought we would shut it down a whole lot sooner than this, to be honest with you.
Hey, why don't you oversell us some more?
We're selling the licensing rights to this as well, too.
No, I'm looking forward to the 100th show. It's going to be really, really good. But I like doing the weekly thing. Although we missed a couple over our time, we've been pretty good, and It's going to be nice to. We're cranking out like clockwork. It's good.
We're pretty close to nailing it, though. I think like almost 52 episodes. It would be 100 episodes. What would that? So we should be at 104 episodes by the second week of October. That would be exactly one episode per week. So I mean, we're close to that. We had a couple.
Amazing. Yeah.
We had a couple where we nailed a few episodes like in a week, where we shipped a couple with a couple of interviews with some people, but at conferences and stuff. But
nice.
Anyway, it's good. So this one's probably not going to be nearly as long, although every time we say that about an episode, we
an hour and a half later. Hey, let's keep this short. Oh shit, we better call it quits. 2 hours.
Yeah. So we had a couple things. We had some stuff, some Azure stuff. We had some just some general cloud stuff and everything. There's one bit of news though that I saw that kind of creeped across that I know we both kind of different takes on it and stuff. But why don't you kick us off with this one?
Yeah. So the first one is an article that came out that said Google has 2 billion lines of code. So billion with a B.
B with a billion?
As opposed to million with a B. Google is 2 billion lines of code, and it's all in one repo. Like, it's all in one place.
It's all in one repo?
Well, repos,
yeah.
arguable, right? But it's all in one system,
yeah.
Right? So they moved, the article we'll link to in the show notes, but it basically says they moved from a mercurial source code system to their own sort of homegrown thing, and that every engineer at Google has basically access to every line of code except the stuff that's in Android and the stuff that does PageRank and like the core search algorithm in Google search, right? Because that's like seriously commercially sensitive information. So
why Android? I
think just because it's non-web, right? The way they describe it in the article is that the majority of their lines of code are all sort of web systems. They're all internet code, and Android's a client operating system. It's Windows, for want of a better word, right? It's like it's a client operating system, and so those guys operate it slightly differently.
But they still don't want to share that with all the different engineers that are at Google.
I'm not sure I don't think it's a sharing thing as opposed to...
Or access.
That the source system is better for web development versus client OS development with drivers and I don't know. I'm not sure of the reasons why, but I that's what I took away from the article anyway.
I know we had different takes on this too. We saw like 2 billion lines. I mean, I know that when I first saw this, I was like, really? That's it? 2 billion? It seemed to me that it just seemed low. And I know then there's the correlation about comparing it to the number of lines of code in Windows.
Yeah, so they basically say here, that one of the most complex software tools ever built for a single computer since the 1980s is Windows, which is roughly in the realm of 50 million lines. And that's a very loose number, roughly in the realm. Like, what are we talking, like plus or minus 10 million lines of code?
Which is still pretty significant.
But, so, I think I mentioned it in a podcast a while back that the number of combinations of Windows, of hardware and software that Windows has to support is greater than the number of observable atoms in the universe. And it was a tweet by Gabe All, right? Mm-hmm. The GM who does Windows release management now. And so number of video cards, memory, CPUs, motherboards, hard drives, graphics cards, sound cards, peripherals, mice, keyboards, screens, Bluetooth devices, Wi-Fi things, you name it, right? It's more than the observable atoms in the universe. And that's quite a lot, right? So say, for argument's sake, that was only 50 million lines of code.
Yeah.
And Google has 2 billion lines of code, it says, then, and that doesn't include Android or the core Google search algorithm, then, I don't know, that 2 billion lines of code seems like a lot to me. It's a lot of text files, man.
Well, so don't get me wrong. I definitely think that's a lot of code. But I guess when I first read it, I did take it as it was 2 billion lines of code for the search algorithm or for the whole search story. I didn't know it was across the entire board.
Yeah.
And it's still, I guess just with as much code as we all write, it just seems to me like with a company that size, like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's not that surprising to me. Like, I guess it's
so
hard.
It's 200. What's that like? Is it 200 times the size of Windows?
Which is sizable.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit.
People talk about Windows bloat. You're like 200x that.
Yeah, it's a little big. It's a little big.
I don't know. But when you think about lines of code, it's like text files.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's just text, right?
Oh yeah.
How many Encyclopedia Britannicas?
Is this still around?
I don't actually know. No, I think they stopped printing it.
I think they did stop printing it.
200 billion lines of text. That's a lot of books.
You gotta love the background noise here too. So yeah, we're sitting at a beer garden. Here comes the fire truck, right?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Just so you guys are listening, because I always hate this when I'm listening to a podcast and you hear a siren or you're listening to some radio show. They're really going to drive right by where we are. Hold on, just 1 second. All right, one more. Now it's a party.
Okay, now we're good.
You know, I always hate that when I'm listening to something on the radio and you hear like sirens are going and I'm looking around like, what the hell's going on, right? And then all of a sudden, so yeah, now we're good. Yeah, so sorry about the background noise and everything. We are literally at a beer garden doing our show. Hey, so that's the 2 billion lines of code. I got another one here. This is an Azure bit of news here. And we have one that will, I guess the big kahuna we'll do that one as our last one, talking about the B2C stuff.
Yes, yeah.
But there's another piece here about Azure Backup announced the general availability of Azure IaaS VM backups. So what this is that we're going to we now have the ability, we've had the ability to do this in preview, but now this is in GA, where we can have virtual machines that are living up in Azure, and these VMs are now can be backed up by Azure. So in the past, we had the ability to do something similar to this, but doing it with like VMs and stuff that are running on-prem, but not with the ones that are running in the cloud, or doing it with like Linux-based VMs. Now we can do it with VMs that we have running up in Azure. So this is going to give us a bunch of things here, right? It gives us the ability to have consistent backups for any of the Windows OSs and file system consistency for Linux OS without the need to shut down the VMs. All these backups happen on the fly without even having to shut down the VMs. It's also going to transfer all the VMs to a secure, reliable Azure backup vault so that you can restore the VMs with just a single click. And the backups taken on VMs can also be retained for long-term, using the industry standard GFS retention policies. So it's really cool to have the ability to go through and have have VMs that are running in the cloud, be able to back them up very easily up in Azure.
Them safe.
With that, keep them safe, but also having a little bit of fault tolerance there.
Yep.
So it's a cool capability that they've added.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Speaking of storage, Apple have also come out and said that they're revising their iCloud storage pricing. So we've talked a bunch about Azure storage pricing. We talked about Dropbox and Google and Amazon, but we haven't really talked about Apple pricing in the past. And so iCloud with Apple, they tweaked their pricing a bunch. It used to be what I would say is quite expensive, right? It used to be 1 terabyte for $19.99.
Comparatively speaking.
Yeah, comparatively. Yeah, exactly. We never would have said this once upon a time. But now it seems comparatively expensive. Right, 1 terabyte was $20 a month. And
that's ridiculous.
How absurd. How do they think they're going to be in business at that price?
Did you see the picture? There was a picture going on the internet a couple of days ago of IBM pushing the first 5 gigabyte drive up onto a trunk. And the thing was... it was like the size of like 4 like commercial refrigerators.
Yeah.
5 gigabyte drive.
You have to roll it on, basically. So yeah, they've gone from $20 for a terabyte to $10 for a terabyte. And as I understand it, that's about the same price as Dropbox. For Dropbox Pro, I think it was $10 a month. Something like that.
I think it was $100 a year for a terabyte.
It's a little less than.
I think that's what I pay. I think I pay $100 a year for a terabyte.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
So they're kind of bringing it more in line, or at least closer to...
By the way, here come the people who are going to start flaming me for paying $100 for a terabyte for Dropbox when I can get it for free with OneDrive. But with OneDrive, at least with Dropbox, I know that it syncs.
Oh, it's too soon, man. It's too soon. Too soon. So yeah, terabyte, $10 a month, that's pretty good. But if you think about it, like, this is pretty sweet because all those people with iPhones who are taking photos, who are doing their iPhone backups, their photo backups and everything like that, they can it's easily worth $10 a month to them to say all your photos you ever take are going to be instantly and magically backed up to the cloud and you don't have to worry about it. That's pretty good.
Yep.
So yeah, interesting to see that that iCloud are Apple are revising their iCloud storage to be kind of more in line with everybody else.
That's interesting. It's about time they had a little bit of revision.
That feels like Amazon and Google pressure to me. You know, because Amazon do their unlimited photo backup or whatever for Prime members.
Yep.
Google have their whole thing. So, yeah, interesting to see Apple are in line.
That's pretty awesome. Hey, before we do the last bit of news here, I will say that there's a conference. There's an interesting conference coming up in October. It's in Amsterdam in a couple weeks. It's in the week of October the 12th. I think it's October the 12th through the 14th. And it's called Unity Connect. It's put on. You might have heard of SharePoint Connect. For those of you that are in Europe, SharePoint Connect it's been a pretty popular conference in that area that time of the year. The IT Unity guys have gotten together. They actually have worked with the SharePoint Connect guys. They've built it into a bigger conference, and where it's not just about SharePoint, it's about Office 365 as well. There's a bunch of really good speakers that are going to be there. So definitely a show that you should take a look at. It's one I know I'm going to be there. I'm going to be speaking. I have a couple of things that I'm going to be doing there, but definitely a good show to take a look at. Just coming up in a few weeks here.
Yeah, and a cool city as well. I went to Amsterdam for the show last time, and it was so much fun.
Yeah, Amsterdam never sucks. Hey, we saw another bit of news here that we just had Stuart Kwan on from Azure AD just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then they had some stuff that came out. This is the one thing that I wish we would have talked about last week when we missed our episode. But oh my God, this is an awesome post.
Yeah, so I think people will read this post and be like, meh, I don't really get it.
Yeah.
But I think this really changes the game significantly.
I think so too.
So
this is what a lot of us have been waiting for a very long time. We had it a while ago, but now it just got really easy.
Exactly, yeah. So virtually, put up your hand. Don't be shy.
Keep one hand on the steering wheel, though.
Yeah, that's right. Don't be lying to us. But how many of you have rolled your own authentication implementation in your web applications?
Oh, you in the back. Come on, put your hand up.
I know you're lying.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
You've done some web forms implementation with a little SQL Server provider there, haven't you? And you're storing your passwords in clear text, aren't you?
Been there, done that. A little embarrassed to tell everybody that's what I did that night.
So the fact of the matter is, there are some people that know how to do auth better than you.
And secure it.
There's probably 4 of them in the world. 4 companies in the world that know how to do this really well. And Microsoft's one of them.
At scale.
At scale, yep, exactly. And so we had Stuart Kwan on, and right after the show, actually, he went off air, and he said, and he said, just so you know, in a few weeks' time, we might have some more news.
Yeah.
So Stuart, if you're listening, please come back to the show.
Oh my, yeah. He totally opened up right after we finished recording that show. He opened up a couple other things, and we're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Yeah. This is that thing, B2C.
B2C. So the post is called Azure AD, B2C, and B2B are now in public preview. So why don't you kick it off with B2C?
Okay, so I don't have my brain fully wrapped around B2B yet, but so B2C, what B2C is that in the past we had this with ACS where I could have my site and say that, I want to be able to provide authentication on my site, and I want to give people the option to say log in with Facebook, log in with Google, log in with Twitter, log in with whatever you want. And I want to make that, but I want to make that on my site, but as a login option. But for me to implement and roll it my own, it was always a royal pain in the butt to go through and set that up.
Yeah.
But then I also want to give people the ability to say, no, we can also create your own identity on ours if you're not social, if you're not using one of those if you're not using a Facebook or a Google, you don't want to federate your auth, you want to have a unique ID for each one of these different sites. That's totally cool. We can do that too. What B2C does is it essentially will let you say, I want to opt into Facebook or Google, or I think those are the 2 right now in preview, but I think there's additional options.
Microsoft account is coming.
Microsoft account is coming. Yep. And we're in preview. They talk about they're doing other social ones. I would expect to see something like Twitter showing up as well. But I don't know if Twitter's coming. That's my guess. But the idea is that you would be able to set up an Azure AD, a way for you to do authentication, to say, I'm now going to allow authentication on my site using one of these other providers. But if you also want to say that, no, I also want to have my own authentication story as well. So I want to have my own user accounts where I have my own email address, my own password that's stored with your site and not using one of these social accounts to do the federated auth. I can do that as well with B2C. It allows me to also do things like set up certain additional properties when people log in to say, like, what's your, in the blog post, he uses membership ID and I think organization account or something like that.
Yeah.
Where you can plug in additional numbers when you do the authentication piece or when you do the registration piece and signing up users. The cool thing about this, I guess there's one other capability, or one other thing about this that's different from traditional Azure AD, in that with traditional Azure AD, you can always see all the other people in your directory. So because it's always designed as being like a company directory. So I could always see like all the other users that I put in my directory. With B2C, it's not set up like that. With B2C, you can't see anybody else, right? So everybody's very isolated. One of the cool things about this, though, is that all of this is based on Azure AD. There's a free developer model that people can use, so you don't have to pay anything to set this up. There's a very affordable model as well for production use that does not cost all that much, considering what you're actually getting out of it. I think it's like 50,000 up to 50,000 accounts is free, and then you also pay based on authentications, which is how many times you request an access token. That number is also very, very high. If you're getting up to that number, then you've got to be a commercial site. You got to be able to pay for it. But one of the other things that's neat about this is that all this, because it's built on top of Azure AD, that means you have full access to things like the Graph API. And so if you want to be able to have your own authentication model or your own registration model, and you don't want to use the way that Microsoft's registration model, then you can set up your own stuff in your own site and have use their APIs. Essentially, the way it works is that if somebody comes to your site, let's say they go to wingtip.com and you want to let them log in, what you're going to do is you're going to redirect them over to Azure AD and say, go log in over there, and they're going to present Facebook, Gmail, Microsoft account, or maybe creating a local account for wingtip.com.
Yep.
They're going to give you those options. That page lives in Azure AD, but you have full control over the source of that page, so that you can brand it where it looks like your site. So the only thing that people would notice if they look at the URL, they're going to see that they've actually gone to Azure AD and not left your site. The brand of the page is going to look the same. Mm-hmm. In addition from that, once you log in, then it's going to redirect them back over to the site with the token that they need, with all the other OpenID Connect information they're going to need to be able to track and see who they are, and maybe other membership information.
And all the claims.
And all the other additional claims that come back and stuff. I'm really curious to play with this a bit. We've talked about this a little bit before the podcast about, if I'm logging into Google, then with my Gmail account, do I get my token from Gmail so that I can use that to reach back in from my application to find out what they can do? Or same thing with Facebook. Can I use that to reach back into Facebook as that user? I'm curious to see if we get all that same kind of information or if it's fully abstracted away. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. I think one of the exciting things is you'd be able to build a web app. At least my understanding is you'd be able to build an app that a user comes to and can either sign in with Google, Facebook, email and password, or their Microsoft identity that they've already got, whether that be on the business side or on the personal side, right?
Yeah, Org ID or MSA.
Org ID or Microsoft account, like the consumer side. And your app will just, you got very little authentication wiring to do.
Yep.
And it'll be able to do with all 5 or 6 of those scenarios really simply, and all stored in Azure AD. Now, the other really interesting thing is, like that Stuart alluded to on the show, was that, Microsoft are pretty good at this, right? Like, you might poo-poo them and all that for various bits and pieces, but, they're doing billions of authentication requests a day and are watching using things like machine learning and so forth for attack vectors and different things that are happening on the internet. And if you rolled your own, you're not doing any of that, right? You're not watching out for particularly bizarre, malicious traffic, at least not in the most rudimentary sense. And you're not blocking IPs, you're not doing a whole bunch of all these different things, and they'll take care of all that for you.
Yep.
Plus, I don't know about you, but I love it when websites let me log in with an ID that I've already got somewhere else.
Yep.
And don't ask for much in return, right? Well, so if they get my email address and my name, okay. If they want my entire friends list from Facebook, then I start evaluating it.
Yeah, well, and it's something like that. It's the ability, like, I love to have that same capability, but I also love to be able to go to Facebook or to Gmail or to Twitter and look at where I've allowed my token to be used
and turn it off.
Yeah. And then I basically know that I've just shut down those sites. And it's like it's the equivalent of shutting down a login on those sites. And regardless of what I'm using, now that Facebook says, now that I've told Facebook, don't give them a token anymore.
Yeah.
That's really nice to be able to do that. I mean, people are like, oh yeah, but you're consolidating your logins, and if you get hacked, you're da-da-da. I'm like, yeah, of course, that's true. But it's a convenience thing. To be incredibly secure, you're going to be incredibly inconvenienced, right?
Yeah.
Right. To sit there and have a unique ID for each
It's
individual one. So you have to sit there and figure out what the balance is. What is your tolerance for that kind of a balance? It's a really cool capability. I don't know of any other company that does this at this scale. I mean, we haven't seen someone like Google or someone like Facebook or someone like Amazon or someone like Twitter offer this same kind of a feature.
Yeah.
I think that the only company I could really see that would really do a really good job at offering this would be Amazon. I don't see Google doing something like this. Amazon, because they don't have a play in each one of these different social places, and because they've got the cloud presence that they have, Amazon's the one that I would expect. I know there's a couple other sites that do some of this authentication stuff for you, like Auth0 is one. They're one that comes to mind. And nothing against them, but I mean, you're going to where are you going to put your bet in terms of like the resources to secure your stuff and everything? I'm going to go with with a Microsoft or a Google or an Amazon. I feel more comfortable with them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's another half to this, which is the B2B piece, which is more... So B2C is all about getting end users signed into your app. The B2B side, so business to business side, is all about, partners being able to sign into your applications or, anybody from a particular customer's organization. So instead of one-to-one, many-to-one, it's sort of many-to-many. Is that the right word? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, many, yeah.
So in this case, it's more like a typical Active Directory trust model between ADs. So you can say, hey, Contoso, I trust anybody from Prosware to be able to sign into my application. And Prosware might be a customer or a partner or something like that.
A fictitious Microsoft domain.
Yeah, or another fictitious, or Wingtip, or whatever.
I hadn't seen Prosware before either from these blog posts.
Proseware's a famous one, yeah. Or Woodgrove Bank, or
there we go.
Any of the keepers.
Fabricam.
Right? Fabricam, yep. Any of the keepers.
F&M.
But that's kind of cool, right? Because you might build an application like some sort of ordering app that you want to open up to your partners, and you want to say, hey, I want to allow anybody from these 5 companies to be able to sign into my application. And so I think that's where the B2B side of things steps in. And so you can say, hey, I want anybody from Contoso, Prosware, Wingtip, and Woodgrove to be able to sign in. And you can go to town. And so it's sort of like the trust model used to work in AD between different domains in Active Directory. So I think that's another really interesting one. But I think the B2C model is really fascinating. Will be interesting for business.
Yeah, B2C is interesting. We're in preview for this for B2C. They've talked about how there's a lot of pieces to it that you can go through and customize today. I'm trying to remember what the one was that you couldn't customize, but they are going to allow customizations to it. Something I think the login model or the creation model. I can't remember which one it was, but one of the ones...
You definitely can't do Microsoft account yet.
You can't do Microsoft
because
account?
I think they're waiting until you can...
The convergence is set.
The convergence is done, and you can click the Microsoft account button, enter an email address, and it'll figure out whether it's a consumer or a work account.
Yeah, or ask if it's the email address goes to both.
If it's ambiguous, yeah.
Like yours truly.
To help you, yeah. It's the Andrew Connell bug. Yeah.
But it's so funny because since we did that episode, we actually had a few people, since we talked to Stuart about that, I had a handful of people reach out to me on Twitter, and they were going, "Oh yeah, that model is just so screwed up." I'm like, I'm in that state, and I don't really know how else you could change that, because the way that the UI works, it actually works really well. It's worked really well for a while, for about a year now, to where when everyone's like, "Oh yeah, we're going to fix this," I'm like, I thought you fixed it, because it works pretty well. Right now, I plug in my email address, and I get this little dot showing up, a little animated, like I'm working on it kind of thing.
Yeah, it's figuring you out.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you see the page kind of refresh. And I'm now trained myself to where when I plug my email address in, I wait for a second, and because it's going to prompt me within the next 2 or 3 seconds to say, is it a Microsoft account or is it a work or school account or org ID or whatever it is, or organizational account? Which one is it? I click on org ID and it goes, okay, now plug in your password for that one and we're good.
Interesting.
So I think it works really well what they've done. I really don't know how much better they can make it work. I mean, read my freaking mind. I mean,
yeah. That's good to know, because there's this website that I'm signing up for right now. It's kind of lame, but it asks you to sign in with a live ID, right? And I've signed in with my live ID, and I filled out the form and I submitted it. Anyway, so the submission got rejected, and they said go fill it in again. And you go to the website and you sign in, and it says you've already submitted the form. And then at the end of the email, they're like, sign in with a new live ID, and you're like,
I gotta create another
honestly,
ID. Now you get pissed.
So right, exactly, yeah. So now I'm terrified to create another one.
Yeah.
With my work email address.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, oh my God, am I going to begin this identity purgatory? Right? But it sounds like I'm good to go. So
that sounds like me trying to sign into Pizza Hut last night. It didn't work out that well. I tried putting my email address into another email address. It goes, no, we don't recognize your email address. But I went to the website and logged in just fine. Then I tried the app and it goes, no, we don't recognize you. I'm like,
I'm sorry, you're too...
account. And I'm like, how many pizzas are coming to my freaking hotel room right now?
I'm sorry, you're too drunk to order pizza.
But then, actually I wasn't. But then I realized I was right across the street from some place called the MOD Pizza or a Mod Pizza.
Oh yeah, make your own. Oh,
I don't know, whatever it stands for. It's
made on demand.
Made on demand pizza. Yeah. Holy crap! Have you been to this place in Seattle?
Yeah, it's great.
Oh my God! Finally, a personal pizza that was like the perfect size.
Yeah.
It wasn't like getting this massive like pizza. Really good. It's a bit off topic.
This pod show is brought to you by Mod Pizza.
Oh, my God. By the way, speaking of that, we are still looking for sponsors or advertisers for the show.
Yeah, we are actually. If you're interested in...
Man, it's been 2 years. We could use a sponsor to sit there and help offset some of these costs.
Kicking in a little bit of our sponsorship costs and hosting costs, let us know. We'd be interested in talking.
We'd be very interested in talking.
Excellent. So yeah, we've covered a little bit about Google, a little bit about Azure, a little bit about Azure AD.
Fire trucks, beer.
That's right.
Music in the background. We had to wait until the Monday Night Football game finished because the TVs were really loud.
Yeah, apologies about that.
Yep.
But
you enjoyed your wiener.
Oh, hey, picks. I did.
Oh, man.
Thoroughly.
Picks.
I've got a good pick.
You're going to have to go first because I got to think about this one on the fly then. Wow.
Concorde might be coming back.
Oh, no way.
Seriously. So there's a private group of folks that are they've raised up to £160 million, and the goal is twofold. They're going to buy a Concorde and open a restaurant that floats on the Thames in London in Concorde, in an old Concorde. And then the second thing is they're going to get a almost flight ready Concorde back in the air is their goal.
Oh my gosh.
And I saw this news article and I got past line 4 and I was like, take my money. Where do I sign?
I'm in.
And somebody said, you know what? Like, why? The seats are small, you can't stretch out. And I was like, I don't give a shit about how big the seats are. I want to go Mark II, baby.
You don't get it. Do you know, I know somebody who went on the Concorde, and they would say that if you don't want to ever sit up in the front of the plane. Have you heard this?
No.
You don't want to sit in the front of the plane because it's hot as hell. It's uncomfortable.
Really?
Because of the friction on the skin, it gets so warm in the front of the plane. The air conditioning can only power up the back half of the plane.
Interesting.
Yeah, that it can't sit there and do the front half because the front half gets so.
So technically, it's not friction. I read about this. Like we're going to totally.
No, let's geek out.
We're going to geek out about this. So technically, it's not friction. It's compression of the air in front of you that heats the plane up. So you know when you get a bike pump, right, and you pump real fast, it's not actually
Mark II?
Slightly slower than Mark II. But when you pump real fast and the bike pump gets warm, it's not actually the friction that's causing that heat. It's the compression of the air that's heating up the bike pump. And so it's the same with Concorde. It's pushing itself through the air, and the heat is generated from the air in front of all those surfaces being compressed in front of it. Not necessarily the friction on the skin itself.
I got nothing.
Not that you ever needed to know that.
No, I was curious though. I'm actually curious.
But how cool would this be? Like going Mark II in a plane that's like the size of a pencil? It'd be awesome.
Are you serious? How cool would this be going Mark II on the size of a plane? A pencil the size of a plane.
Yeah.
Whatever you said.
It is basically a pencil the size of a plane.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
I'd love to try that.
Oh, hell. That's kind of hard to pass up. I have a weird one. I have a weird pick then. So we just did this thing at my house. We did an energy audit. This was really fascinating. He gave us a bunch of recommendations for things to change, and it blows my mind the kind of impact that's already had in the first like 2 or 3 weeks. So I live it's like a box house. So it's like the main part of the house is like open in the middle, and then all the rooms are on 2 stories. All the rooms are on the outside of the house, and so you have like downstairs. You got rooms on the outside perimeter, and then upstairs you have the main room that goes all the way up to the ceiling, like 25 feet high. But then all the rooms on the outside.
Was his recommendation to cover your house in dirt?
No.
Oh
no. But so a couple things that he did recommend. So we looked at a couple things. We looked at he talked about like changing out light bulbs to LEDs instead of just doing normal light bulbs.
Oh yeah.
I didn't really take the time to really look at what kind of a savings it was. So get this. So we have between all the bathrooms and all the house and all the bathrooms and the kitchen, we have 65 watt bulbs in all of them, and we have the old school bulbs, not like the fluorescent ones, not like the curly Qs, but the incandescent ones.
Yeah.
So there's 65 watt bulbs. So when I added them all up, of all the bulbs we had, it was like 1,440 watts. Okay, now we don't use all those lights all the time. It was my bathroom, or the master bathroom. It was the bathroom that the kids share, which unfortunately those lights spend a lot more time on than they really should. There was the kitchen; those lights were on quite often, and then there was another room that lights were on quite a bit. But it was 1,440 watts, and he was like, "If you just swap these out, he said you'd be amazed at how much you save." So we went through and I added it all up, and it was an 83% decrease in the amount of wattage that we use. So a 65 watt LED bulb actually only uses about 11 watts, but it's the equivalent of 65 watts in terms of the lumens, the brightness that you get.
Right.
So it's an 83% reduction. Another thing that he did too is that we have
how big a percentage of your energy bill is lighting? Like,
a significant one.
Because like if 83% of $2 is not very much, right?
No, it's not.
Versus $200 is a bit more.
But 82% is a big savings on whatever it is. It's more than zero.
That's true. It is more than zero, yeah.
So here's another one then. So air conditioning, right? So we have, again, the house it's a relatively big house. We have 3 air conditioning units, right?
Yeah, but you live in Florida. It's like...
it's hot as hell. It's like Hades.
Practically leave the oven open and you're in Florida.
Well, only 2 months out of the year, but yes, I won't contest you on those. So he went through. We have 2 air conditioning units downstairs, and we have 1 upstairs. So he went through and he was like, if you take the upstairs unit and you crank it down by 1 degree to cool the entire house off by 1 degree, but you take the bottom ones up and you bump them up by like 7 or 8 degrees. So like I live in Florida, but I don't like. I'm a hot natured person, so I don't like the sweat. It's very humid. So we have our air conditioners at like 72, 73 degrees.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we went through and we set the 2 downstairs units to 80 degrees. Took the upstairs unit and set it to 74 degrees. That upstairs unit is cooling the entire house. It's running about 7 hours a day. Right? This is in the middle of summer in Florida. So we're in September. It's still pretty freaking hot in Florida.
Yeah.
But it's running almost all the time. I have those Nest thermostats, so it shows me how long it actually runs every all the time. The one of the cool things about it is that
how warm is 80 degrees in Celsius, Siri?
Let me think about that. Okay, I found this on the web for is that how warm is 80 degrees in Celsius, Siri?
I couldn't even figure out the math. It went through and did a freaking Google query.
Siri, you hold on. I think it's like 30...
It's 30-something.
5 degrees, 33, something like that.
Yeah. So, anyway, we went through and we bumped up the 2 units downstairs up to 80 degrees. One of them only runs for 45 minutes a day. The other one runs only now for 10 minutes a day. And then the one upstairs runs for 6 hours a day. The overall utilization of all 3 units has gone down by like 45%.
Wow.
By just changing who cools
like the
what.
convection.
Yeah.
And
He's like, just take advantage of the fact that hot air rises and cold air falls.
It's 27 degrees Celsius.
No, it's not that hot.
That's pretty warm.
80 degrees. That's pretty warm?
Yeah.
Man, we were sitting there working with indexes of like 115. My buddy Rich Desare over in Texas is like going 80 degrees.
Yeah.
That's like, we got to get the jackets out.
Dude, you're in Seattle. If it's thawing, it's a hot day. Yeah.
If it's what?
Thaw.
Oh, thawing. Okay.
Thaw.
Had to get my new Zanglish.
Thawing. Like, with a hammer. Thaw. Anyway.
All right, I think now we're just rambling.
Nice.
That was a good show. That's fun.
I like it. Yes, covered some news, covered some interest.
Yeah.
It's been an excellent show. Thanks,
Absolutely,
AC.
man. Hey,
and nice to see you in person.
Episode 96 in the books.
Nice.
If you have a question for us, go to microsoftcloudshow.com/questions, where you can submit it as text or record it as a WAV or an MP3 file and provide a link so that we can play your question on the show. Our theme music is an excerpt from Evaporated Eric by Monk Turner used under Creative Commons. You can subscribe to us in iTunes by searching for the Microsoft Cloud Show or via RSS at microsoftcloudshow.com, where you'll also find a full transcript and show notes of each episode. You can find us on Facebook searching for the Microsoft Cloud Show or on Twitter at MS Cloud Show. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.